So, Doug Walker is in the midst of sequel month. Yeah, I'm not going to do that intro that he does because it's partially gross and also partially just...
Well, also it's sequel month, the sequel.
Yeah, sequel month, the sequel.
Sequel month 2, Revenge of the Fallen.
Revenge of the shit.
Sequel month 2, Electric Boogaloo. I don't know why, but...
Sequel month 2, U.S. Marshals.
But sequel month 2, The Search for Curly's Gold. Yeah! Those are the two. Electric Boogaloo and The Search for Curly's Gold. Also, sequel month 2. Really?
Yeah.
That one's pretty good.
Okay. But that's what I was actually going to ask. Have you ever seen like a movie sequel that was coming out and you just went, really?
Yes.
Why? Okay. What's one that you had that with?
Let's see. The Smurfs. Any of the Alvin and the Chipmunks movies.
Why?
I'm like, why? The second Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The Michael Bay one.
Oh.
The Michael Bay one. Let's get that clear.
The Michael Bay one, okay.
The Michael Bay one. Looking back on it, Crystal Skull.
Yeah.
At the time, I was like, okay.
Yeah, okay.
There's a difference between when I walked into that movie and when I walked out of that movie.
Yeah. Walking in, optimistic. Walking out.
It was midnight and I was in costume. Walking out,
You immediately...
I wanted to destroy that hat. But it was a good hat. It's a really good hat, actually.
Okay, so the Disney sequels that we want. So I'm interested to see what Doug Walker has listed on here.
Yeah.
Because...
That's going to be interesting because I've seen a fair few Disney sequels where I'm like, what? Fox and the Hound 2.
Why?
Like, how do you even do it?
Okay.
You do it as like a mid-quel?
Yeah.
It's
Jesus.
Anyway, let's see what he's got.
All right. Let me get on screen and boop and bop.
Hello, I'm the nostalgia guy. Remember it so you don't have to. With a certain themed month coming up in December, and that certain theme containing a lot of direct-to-DVD sequels, I figured it only makes sense to talk about a certain aspect of those sequels. You see, in the late 90s and early 2000s, Disney struck it big-ish with their direct-to-DVD sequels. For whatever reason, kids really wanted to know what happened after Happily Ever After. You name it, Cinderella 2, Pocahontas 2, even Hunchback of Notre Dame 2.
That was the one where I'm like,
ooh, maybe now we finally get the original book ending.
No.
Despite some of them being given an impressive animation budget, almost on par with their theatrical hand-drawn movies, most of them are known as some of the worst material Disney's put out. Who was really asking for another Brother Bear? Who couldn't sleep at night if they didn't know what happened to Kronk's Groove? Looking these over, though, I did start to wonder
Kronk's New Groove was
sequels did
pretty
we
good.
Want to see? Which ones could actually be explored more and we'd welcome another film about? Some of these are already in demand and being made, like Wreck-It Ralph, The Incredibles, and so on. But we're also getting Cars 3 and Toy Story 4 after Cars 2 and Monsters University. So, not that it's likely
Toy
that these
Story
are going to
4
happen,
could be
but
good.
it might be fun to explore the Disney sequels that we actually wanted to see.
I didn't get to elaborate on
my first choice
what the
isn't
fourth
even a
one was
part
going to
2.
be about.
It's a part 3 to maybe make up for parts of part 2. I'm talking about Fantasia. The first film is seen by many as an artistic masterpiece, and it was meant to continue with a ton of varying sequels. Well, sadly, we only got one with Fantasia 2000, which not only did poorly at the box office, but it kind of pissed off those who loved the first film with edited versions of the music, slightly more childish segments, and painful cameos.
Fraud, dismemberment, rip-off.
Oh.
Yeah.
You can figure out the target audience
when
you refer to Salvador Dali as the melting watch guy.
Now, Salvador Dali, you know, the limp watches guy.
Yeah, I can really see him doing something similar in the first film.
Leonardo da Vinci, you know, one of the Ninja Turtles.
But but still, it had some beautiful moments and exceptional animation and ideas.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, maybe a third one could work if they just knocked off talking down to the audience.
Yeah.
When the first Fantasia failed to make the money it needed back, they worked in the other segments they were gonna put into future Fantasias into just short cartoons. The same thing happened with Fantasia 2000, which gave us 2 wonderful segments. Salvador Dali's, Melting Watch Guys, Destino, and a heartbreaking rendition of The Little Match Girl.
Oh,
Both
yeah.
of these are phenomenal and give hope that maybe a third Fantasia could happen if they're risky, but also adult enough to pull it off.
Yes.
It's definitely worth taking that chance. But not all Disney sequels have to be adult. How about Robin Hood? This was about as basic an action-adventure movie you could get, but it did it so wonderfully. It was creative, exciting, had great action scenes, and one of the few Disney films that was entirely anamorphic life forms. No humans could exist in this world.
Yeah.
It's true.
With Zootopia being such a big hit, hell, maybe that'll get a sequel too. Perhaps another one of these would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I could get behind
Everything
that.
seems
I could
kinda
too.
laid out. Robin Hood and Maid Marian are married. Maid Hood. They have a babysitter living with them
Lady-
who's also a
Lady
baby.
Hood.
Yeah, I never got that part. But they could have kids and they could go on adventures too. Just create another evil to fight and this could be a very simple but also very enjoyable adventure. Animation especially has come a long way. It'd be really cool to see these with much smoother lines as opposed to that sketchiness, and maybe even given the CG route. Again, they made them look
Yeah.
great in Zootopia. It could probably work here too.
Yeah.
It seems like
Yeah.
the possibilities are strong enough to check out. And speaking of animal
Sadly
movies, why not
enough,
the
the
Great Mouse Detective?
songwriter can't
Ooh,
come back.
yeah.
It wasn't a huge hit
Yes.
when it came out, but it's getting more and more of a following. Its hero, Basil of Baker Street, is uncontrollably likable. He's
Yes.
funny, he's smart, he's got a ton of energy, and he's incredibly enjoyable to watch. Granted, his arch-nemesis Ratigan, who's also a fantastic character, is killed in the end, but so what? The stories of Basil
So why
obviously
can't we
have
have
an
ano-
influence
so why
from
can't we
Sherlock
have a
Holmes.
Moriarty
Hell,
character?
He stays in Sherlock
yeah.
Holmes's walls. And Sherlock had more enemies than just Moriarty, so
Oh,
it's
that's
true.
true.
Basil.
Okay.
The
Yeah,
ending
outside
even
of
indicates
Moriarty,
he's
he had a lot
starting
of
a new
enemies.
mystery. Why don't we just pick up where
Heck,
that
why
left
don't we
off?
give him-
A
show
missing
him
ring?
their Irene
Okay,
Adler?
Well, who took it?
Yes.
For what diabolical plan? Maybe it's part of some other villain's big scheme, and Dawson, his new assistant, has to get used to Basil's eccentric nature. There's ideas here. Maybe he can even be solving a crime while Sherlock is solving one parallel to his. Come on, there was a cool clock tower scene in the last one. We can go even bigger, even more exciting. Look
Yep.
into it, Disney. There's something cool here.
Yes, there
Oh,
is.
yeah.
Now, a lot of Disney animated films are based on books. And if the book has a sequel, shouldn't the movie too? I'm of course talking about
Alice in
Wonderland.
Wonderland. Yes.
Oh,
I
yeah.
know what you're thinking.
Through the Looking
Come on,
Glass.
that first film is perfect. Leave it alone. Don't add any more to what was fine. But here's the thing. There's so many versions of Alice in Wonderland out there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Many of them trying to be line for line the definitive version. And some of them not even getting the title right. All of that,
Yep.
Disney's is still the best. Because
Yes.
they knew it had to be a movie first, and they had to change things around to make it flow like one. But with that said, that means there's still a ton of things left out. Characters like the Jabberwocky, the Griffin, the Knight. There's a ton of places you can go with this.
It's true.
And because the narrative is not very story-based and more of a person just coming across strange thing after strange thing, you
Yeah.
don't even have to worry that much about the story. Just focus on the surrealism, the imagination, the humor, all the fun stuff that made the first film so cool. You can make Through the Looking Glass actually like Through the Looking Glass, unlike Through the Looking Glass. Even the original voice actress, Catherine Beaumont, is still alive, and she
Yeah.
still reenacts her role.
Yeah.
It seems silly not to make
She does.
this.
She actually
All
did
the
that in Kingdom
pieces are
Hearts.
Right there.
Yep.
She actually
Don't give
revoiced it when they had to
complicated
redo
story
it.
about prophecies or Narnia ripoffs. Just do mad people acting like mad people, and you'll have something great.
Yes.
Come on, this
It's
makes
true.
too much crazy sense not to happen. But it doesn't just have to be one of the hand-drawn movies. The CG movies are perfectly eligible too. With all the sequels Pixar says they're bringing out, I'm surprised there's no interest in another Inside Out.
There.
Oh,
Not only was
I
the
am.
first
I
film
am interested in
incredibly
another Inside
poignant
Out.
as well as funny, but the ideas were literally mind-blowing.
Yeah.
When growing up, there's so many changes that happen that can be more than just a puberty joke. Maybe some emotions get more powerful and become bullies. Maybe some other people's emotions multiply and start taking over her emotions. I mean, come on, other people's emotions can have an effect on others. I mean, why not have them, like, sneak into another person's brains and emotions and, like, try to take over? Maybe even brand new emotions are born, new characters. The possibilities are endless. A Apparently when making this movie, there were even more ideas the filmmakers wanted to utilize, but they didn't have the time.
Yeah.
Another movie showing Riley growing up and dealing with these new emotions is a perfect way to explore them. It makes more sense than Cars 3, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Do me a favor, Pixar, and don't keep a closed mind on this one. But that's not the only Pixar film. How about Monsters, Inc.? Let me explain.
Yeah.
I'm sure
A
you're thinking of
sequel.
the follow-up film
Not a
Monsters
prequel.
University as counting. First of all, that was a prequel, not a sequel. Second, who the hell wanted to see that? What
Also,
little kid
thirdly,
is
it
saying,
messes with the
"Mommy, I
lore
wanna
something
see
awful."
These monsters go to
Yeah,
a
it does.
degree-granting institution for higher learning. No one. But you know what would be interesting? Maybe Sully continues to see Boo and watches her as she grows up. Maybe as a teen or an adult, she starts to question whether or not she should still be communicating with quote-unquote monsters in the closet. Maybe she tries to convince herself they're not real, and that creates a rift between her and Sully.
Yeah.
Maybe all those existential issues that always sneak their way into Pixar films can have an explosion of self-conflict here. Who wouldn't want to see a girl grow up talking to literal monsters and how it affects her and the people around her? It's
Yeah.
sensible, it's strange, it's childish, it's adult, it's a neat idea, damn it! It's a neat idea! I don't want to see a PG-rated version of Animal House, I have the R-rated version for that!
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
true.
Pixar's love of talking about growing up and moving on with things, this seems like a perfect format for that. But
Yeah.
it's not like animation and reality always went hand in hand. Look at Enchanted. An animated Disney peasant sent to the real world only to find out she's not looking for a prince, but instead a reasonable relationship. It was a cute film
Yeah.
and did well at the box office, but that does beg the question, what about the prince? And the
Yep.
woman he takes to the animated realm.
Idina Menzel.
Most of the movie was showing how an animated
Strangely
heroine
enough,
reacted to
she
the real
never
world.
sang,
But how
which
about
is
how a real
crazy.
heroine
Yeah,
reacts
Because
to
she's
right?
a
the
great
animated?
singer.
This character didn't get much focus in the original, and now that kids know she was played by Elsa, Disney's probably kicking themselves for that.
Yeah.
So here's your chance to expand on that character.
Yeah.
I'm mocking its old tropes with this, but how about their newer tropes now? Not all Disney films are Snow White or Sleeping Beauty. We got our Mulans and our Hunchback of Notre Dames and such.
Oh, yeah.
How fun would it be to see this character try to survive in that kind of animated world? She can teach them about reality, and they can teach her about whimsical magic and such. It could be pretty enjoyable. Maybe there's something here, something that can be explored more. Okay, probably nothing fantastic, but a cute dive
It
into
could
the
be
other side
neat.
of things.
It could be.
It could be worth looking into.
There's
In
a lot of
fact,
ideas
a
you
lot
can
of
do.
these are worth
Oh, yeah.
looking into. With so many Disney sequels that none of us ever wanted to watch, maybe we could start looking at the ones that we do want to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, in the long run, I want to see new material like a lot
Yeah.
of people do. We have enough repeats in the world. But if you're gonna do sequels anyway and they're just gonna keep making money, maybe give these a thought. I'm not saying they'll be great, but they gotta be better than a lot of the ones that we got in the past.
Yeah.
Disney, this is definitely worth looking into. I know it's a long shot, even dream-worthy, but if there's anything you tried to teach us, it's that dreams can definitely come true.
Yes.
I'm a nostalgia critic, and if you excuse me, there's a certain holiday I need to get ready for.
Perfect cut. A perfect cut. It went on just the right amount.
Yeah, it did.
Comedy editing is hard.
Well, you have to know how to do it right. Well,
Yeah, you have to know just like that one beat.
John Cleese said it the best about the thrashing scene
Yes.
from Faulty Towers.
Yes.
We're gonna give you a right thrashing.
Yep.
Goes, yeah, they tried it with different branches. Wasn't funny. Then they tried it with the one specific one, and
it
worked.
worked.
And it's considered one of the funniest moments in BBC history.
It's classic.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Right. That's it. And just it's yeah, that's the thing.
Okay, for those of you who don't know what we're talking about,
Oh yeah, we're showing it now. Like we have to. Thrashing car. That's it. That's the one. Yep, that's the one right
yeah.
there.
Okay.
All right, pull
Get
it
this.
up. We're gonna do it.
Okay, so as John Cleese put it, they tried this scene several times, and yeah, you see right here, Basil's on his way back to the hotel trying to get back, but he can't get back, and this car has been
has been giving him trouble for a long time.
Long time. But right here, it stops. A damn good thrashing.
And he runs off.
Runs off camera, and
Every time.
Okay, you see, here's the thing. When John Cleese ran off screen, to get the branch, they did this take several times. He came back. As a matter of fact, I think they did the same shot here for each time he came back, and they just cleaned up the car again when the leaves fell off.
Right.
The first time, I think they said they used a branch that was too stiff, and it was like really hard for John to get good swings on it.
Oh yeah.
And it wasn't funny. And then they go back and they find one that's more brittle, that breaks easily.
Mm-hmm.
And he hits it, and after 2 hits with it, it was pretty much nothing. It was pretty much like falling over.
Yeah, and
it wasn't as funny.
There's no point to it. But with this one, you get he's getting in good swings, but it does nothing.
Yeah,
at all.
Yeah, it's a branch that, as he put it, was just
almost like a willow branch.
Almost
really,
like a willow branch, where it had enough give in it to where it would, when you hit the car, it would go through it. It wouldn't like dent it or anything like that. It would go through it, and it wouldn't do any damage. The leaves were still sturdy enough to stay on there, and it's those little things that make comedy just so impeccably, infinitesimally just important.
So
I mean, those little infinitesimal details make everything.
So I've been watching. I talk about Loading Ready Run a lot.
Yeah.
They started a new stream called The Crap Shoot.
Yeah.
So what they do is they've been doing for a long time these little short comedy bits called crap shots.
Yeah.
They're at most like a minute in length.
Yeah.
It's maybe one joke.
Yeah.
And it's like a little sketch, essentially.
Yeah, as you put it there, it's their ideas that weren't long enough to become skits.
Weren't long enough to become a full sketch, but it's something that they think is funny and want to film.
Yeah.
So they've now started a stream where once a week they come in and you see the entire process. They write it, they film it, they edit it, all on stream.
Damn.
It's super neat.
Damn, son.
And one of the things that they talk about in the editing part is sometimes when you go down to edit a joke,
yeah,
like when you edit the delivery,
yeah,
a single frame can make the difference on how funny it is.
I believe that.
Which is brilliant.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy to think about that.
Oh yeah. It's insane.
Yeah.
But I love the idea. I love the fact that you can get down to that much detail and it can make a huge difference.
Yeah. Yeah, those smaller, finer details can make or break things.
Oh yeah.
And
like it can come down to the finest little detail. If he had screamed any longer or any less, would it have been as funny?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
You're talking about the Doug Walker.
Walker,
yeah,
yes.
where Doug Walker screamed into the can.
Yeah.
It's Christmas! And
yeah,
just cut.
an immediate cut.
Yeah.
Hard cut to credits. Yeah, delivery's a tricky thing.
Well, it's just like, okay, it's just like, in terms of comedic timing, it's just like when you remember when we did the where I did the knee slide in and I I strung the guitar.
Yes.
Renegades for yeah, and shit, And you see, it all went so perfectly, and then it was right at the end where you were screaming. I cut away and I do the and the
faces on us.
The faces on us. I do that, and
that was perfect.
Thank you, thank you. You see, doing stuff like that, I must have edited that at least 10 times.
Yeah,
and I
went
through it, and I went
get it the right way because you knew the take was good.
Yeah, I knew the take was really good, and I knew I had to, and I knew that the comedy was perfect in almost every way. But where do we cut back?
Make the cut?
Where do we make the cut to take us back to reality?
Yeah,
and that's where, and that's
that
when
was, yeah.
I was just like, so how long should the scream go? And it was right after we passed. It was right after we passed the first time, and it was just like, and you do that. Ah!
Oh yeah, I was giving that all I could.
You did. You gave it all on that.
Oh yeah.
And we cut, and we right then I was just like, right here. And I was like, okay, no, one or two more frames. And I click over a little bit more, right here. And then I cut away, and it's like, yes, okay, that's it.
That's the thing. That's the thing. A couple frames make all the difference.
Yeah, it's the small things. I mean, and that's one thing I can give people out there who are wanting to do comedy.
Yeah.
From my experiences in it, and from what I have seen, and from everything I've heard from the veterans like John Cleese, and also people who I treasure a lot, Doug Walker, James Rolfe, and and all their comedy trimmings. It's truly something that you have to practice with.
Yeah.
And sometimes, some people just have it right there, right at the beginning. They have it. But if you don't get it in the beginning, that's fine. I mean, I didn't have it in the beginning.
It can definitely be learned.
You can learn it, and it can come to you. And when it comes to you, and you get it, I mean, hell, the possibilities are endless.
Oh yeah.
They're in all reality, the possibilities are endless.
Well, all right. So I love that we took, we watched this video about Disney sequels.
Yeah.
And then we focused on
the
last seconds.
Last second of Doug.
But, okay.
Yeah.
As for the sequels that he mentioned.
Yeah.
Were there any you think he missed?
Okay. Actually, Toy Story 4. He talked about Toy Story 4. Okay, here's the thing. I want more Toy Story. And here's the thing. You know how I know this? Because I saw the Toy Story shorts, the Halloween one they did, and then they also did one. It was like a vacation thing.
Yep.
Where Buzz was substituted out by a toy version of himself, by a toy version of Buzz Lightyear.
Mm-hmm.
A small by like a
miniature.
A miniature. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I thought those were stories enough to where, hey, those could be stories on those could be movies on their own. And then I was just like, you know what? There's something that wasn't resolved in Toy Story 3. And actually it was mentioned in our CinemaSins video. Bo Peep. The whole but unfortunately we will never touch on the subject again. Funny enough, they actually announced the story for Toy Story 4.
Is it about
which is Woody and Buzz finding out what happened to Bo Peep and where she went and going to try and find her. And
brilliant.
And here's the thing. If it were anyone else saying this, I would be worried. John Lasseter said that the story writers for this have been tremendous with it, and he read the script and he cried.
Oh wow.
So
yeah, so it's they got it right.
So yeah, they've got it right. And if here's the thing. Pixar had a misstep with Cars 2. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, that wasn't right.
Yeah, they had a misstep with Cars 2. And it's because they focused on the wrong thing. Instead of focusing on, Lightning McQueen growing, instead they focused on Mater becoming a secret agent. Like, what?
Yeah, that's dumb.
Don't get me wrong. Mater was probably the breakout character of the Cars franchise, but that still doesn't merit him becoming the main star of the film. No, instead they need to expand on the relationship between Mater and Lightning.
Yeah.
Yeah, and because that will make it better. And from what they're doing with Cars 3, it looks like they're trying to rectify that.
Yeah, like they're going in and it's like, all right, so he's got to recover, he's got to rediscover himself, all of that. Yeah. That looks right.
Yeah, that's what Pixar does best. It's not the stories that are just thrown out there to put in filler so that they can sell toys. which actually they did. That's one thing about Cars that drove the production into Cars 2.
Oh man,
no pun intended. But
and then planes.
Oh,
and
planes
and that.
planes, fire and rescue. It was toys. It was
Yeah.
toys. Disney saw the marketing opportunity for toys and wanted more of that. They wanted more of that.
Would you believe, and this is going to sound crazy.
Go ahead.
There was a video game for Cars
Yeah.
that was good.
I do believe that. I actually heard about it. I heard it was really, really good.
It was quite good. And would you believe that the soundtrack might have been the high point of that game?
I can believe that.
The soundtrack that you got was all famous songs about driving.
Yeah.
So, for example, you got Rock This Town by the Stray Cats,
Yeah.
Drive All Night by the All American Rejects.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had this whole thing.
I was gonna say was Born to Be Wild on there?
Maybe so.
Because I was gonna say
I'm gonna look up that
because
soundtrack.
Steppenwolf that opened like get your motor running.
Oh man, it's so
Head out on the highway, looking for adventure. That right there. I remember when me and my dad we went on road trips. He had this classic rock CD that had like a bunch of like the hits from like the 60s and 70s of like good road music, and Steppenwolf's Born to Be Wild was on there. It was just like whoa, and it was just like you hear that guitar track come in that
Yeah,
it was just like
good.
whoa. And also of course there's one I saw. It was oh gosh, it was from Field of Dreams. It was the Doobie Brothers China Grove. It was and you see you see that the piano starts coming in and then it does the little roll down, and it's just like yeah, this is a song built for the road. Also Hold On Loosely by 38 Special. So many good songs to drive to, man. I mean, just road trip music, like full on just road trip music.
All right,
dude.
so let's see.
I miss those days with my dad because we used to travel a lot because of his job. We used to travel, and he used to take me with him to a lot of places. Like we drove up to New Jersey, we drove down to Texas, we drove to Arkansas, we drove to Mississippi, we drove to Louisiana. We drove everywhere, dude. It was so fun just going on trips with him and having a blast. Gosh, but you see. That's okay. That's one thing about Cars, about the Cars movie. Okay, that's one thing I didn't like about the Cars movie is that they actually did remakes. Like for instance, Life is a Highway did not have to be remade by Rascal Flatts. Don't get me wrong, I like Rascal Flatts to some degree, but the original version is classic by itself. And you didn't have to do a rehash of it just to have a better cut of the royalties.
Right,
right?
yeah.
I mean, honestly, pay the original artist the money because that
the song's
song
worth
is
it.
classic.
Yeah.
It doesn't need a reboot. It's just like, okay, I convinced my dad to watch the remake of Footloose, which I'll say, okay, here's the thing. My dad was a huge Footloose fan back in the day.
Right.
I convinced him to watch it because of the change in location and also the change in the feel of the movie. And here's the thing. Do I think it's a superior film? In some regards, yes. In the one regard, I think it falls short is star power because comparing Kevin Bacon to the kid that they got to replace him, Kenny Wormald, don't get me wrong, Wormald is a great dancer and in his own right did pretty good.
Well, see, all right, here's the thing.
Go ahead.
Kevin Bacon. I know who Kevin Bacon is.
6 Degrees from Kevin Bacon.
Who the hell is this other guy?
Kenny Wormald. His greatest claim to fame before he got cast in Footloose was that he was Justin Timberlake's backup dancer on one of his tours. That was his greatest claim to fame.
Yeah, star power lacking.
Yeah, star power lacking. But the dance moves are a lot better in the new Footloose. The music, the music is a lot more. It's a clash of styles. My dad is more apparent to the classic one because he grew up in the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
Me, I was more apparent to the newer one because of the 2000s. But the one thing they did not have to do was redo Footloose. Instead, play Kenny Loggins' version. Damn it!
Right?
Play Kenny Loggins' version.
Play
I don't
the
want to hear Blake
classic.
Shelton. I don't want to hear Blake Shelton sing Footloose. Got to get on up. I'm like, no. Kenny Loggins. Where's Kenny Loggins? Kenny, where you at, man?
No, you know where he is? He's flying to the danger zone.
With Sterling Archer as his pilot.
And on that bombshell,
Yep.
It's time to end. Thank you very much for watching. Good night.
Good night.